YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about the newest card game in ESO. It's got a little bit of controversy behind it, but we're going to be talking today about how you can get good at it, how you level it up, what are some strategies that I've employed, and all of the kind of nitty-gritty pieces around it. So to start off, I have taken both of the daily quests. For those of you who do not know, once you have taken the beginner's quest right outside where we are in the Gone Fallen Bay and High Isle, all the way down in the newest main city, and you'll be able to get the quest right over here at the billboard, which will have you run down here, talk to these two chaps, play a starter game that will probably confuse the shit out of you. And I've taken their quest, so we are going to go on a bit of a field trip now to Glenumbra so that we can play against some of the AI there. And we're going to talk about the general differences between AI, real players, the strategies that both of them employ, and what you should do to get better at this card game. So, while we are on our magnificent pilgrimage to Glenumbra, the holy place of where I started my first ever character as a Daggerfall Covenanter, this is just a reminder to leave a like on the video because that would be really cool if you did. And if you enter into the giveaway for the month of June, July, August, September, depending on whenever you're watching this, all you have to do is leave a comment. For those of you who don't know, I always monitor the comments, count how many up to get at the end of the month, put it in a random number generator, and then send a prize to the winner, about $20 depending on the currency that they have. So always my way to give back the AdSense that you guys give to me. So we are here now, and we are about to send this person to the Shadow Realm. All right. So now let's talk about patron drafting. Now, patron drafting obviously is relatively simple because I only have 2 decks. Now, what I will suggest is that you always want to make sure that the Psijic Lore Master Celeris is selected if you're able to. We'll talk about why in a second. So, for those of you who will talk obviously about all aspects of the game, but the key aspect is what I call the instant loss. So if all of these tributes face your opponent, you lose. Now, the one that's really interesting is this one, because if the opponent has an agent card, they basically can pay a fee to get it wiped out, essentially. Why that's so neat is basically you can avoid loss through this method by never playing an agent card, because they can't kill an agent card if one is never placed. So you watched me look at my first turn here, and I looked at the options, and I'm a huge fan of the Tribute card and the Duke of Crows, which they've now just taken from me. So I've lost that card, but we're going to have hopefully a better turn here. So there's something always to consider too. Whenever possible, you always want to click this, and you want to pay 2 cards to sacrifice to get a Rit coin. Also too, it is always beneficial to pick up as many cards that give you a gain of 2 gold, and always have those in your deck as well. So you can see now we've got 4 gold left, which is a bit of an unfortunate number because we're going to be losing some of it, but we're going to now spend 2 because we're going to take one of these gold cards, or if you're in a pinch, you can use these other cards, but always start with your gold cards first, because now when we draw them, you'll see them here in just 1 second, now it's a Rit of coins, and now it's 2 coins, so that's a good strategy for you guys. And we'll also talk too about how everything's calculated. So basically the biggest currency is gold and then power. So whenever you play a card that gives you gold, you can buy cards or do other things with it, such as convert it to writs, convert it to power using this patron. So why it's important is because you need to get 40 prestige to win. I am a huge fan of grinding through this part of the game first, where you're getting a lot of gold. So I think that converting and making as many writs as possible is much better than picking up cards, because what you're doing is you, anytime you pick up a card, you now have that card, which means that you can now draw that card. You're only going to have 5 in your hand at any given point. So what that means for you to kind of keep in the back of your head is you will always only be able to have 5 cards. So if you have 40 cards, and you need a specific few of them, it's going to be a lot harder to get. So that's why I'm very selective on the cards that I get, but I will consider using cards like this, where you can destroy cards if they're in your hand and you don't want them, or you can use these contract cards. So we're still going to do damage to him. You can see we just picked up this card here using the extra gold that we got for this turn, and we're still going to be able to convert a writ. But you can see that we just gained 4 power, cost 5 gold. We are now going to turn another gold piece into a writ. 1 gold left over, not too shabby. And you can see we are not only building our bank up really consistently, but we are also gaining a lot of power at the same time. You can also see too that I'm not tempted by cards that I don't want. Now, this is an interesting card here because this is an agent card, which means that as long as it doesn't die, it will be on the field. So I do like agent cards. Now, in a PvP aspect where somebody might be going for that easy agent victory, whereas a lot of times the AI will not, you're going to want to be very hesitant to do that. So I'm actually going to pick up this agent card because basically I will be gaining 2 gold by using its play affect, and I'm a huge fan of that. You know, I always like the 2 gold, 1 card, which sounds very dirty, method to getting ahead in the game, because gold is, in my opinion, the best currency. Some other strategies that I implore you to use is that if your opponent loves to use the Duke of Crows and has it pointed towards him, he cannot activate that again. So while every other patron can be used multiple times, even when it's facing you, the Duke of Crows cannot. So if the opponent is trying to get massive amounts of gold, then utilizes the Duke of Crows, he is not able to utilize that again unless you turn it back towards him. So we are going to place our cards down here again, and we are going to start now considering what we want to get. I think personally, so I am not a huge fan of the Sigil cards, but I do think that, but I am a huge fan of that card, and we are going to now convert another writ into a gold piece into a writ. This is, again, a very easy method to gaining lots of gold. You can see that now soon we're going to be able to get easy 10 gold per turn, and we'll slowly start to build up our Duke of Crows. It doesn't have to be Duke of Crows. The reason I prefer Duke of Crows is that usually, as you can see in this combo effect, you can start drawing cards, which is extremely overpowered as a strategy. And you can see now that we are absolutely blowing through our opponent here in total amounts of gold. We're still able to convert at the end of the round, and we are just plugging along. There's also nothing to say, too, that you can't get some of these other cards. These other cards are really nice. A play effect of 6 gold is something that I'm definitely going to consider next round. I do generally... I don't have anything... Well, they actually killed my card. I was talking all this stuff about how that you could play it and then you don't have to worry about it again, but there's a lot of good cards in here. So we are going to be looking at a bunch of these and talking about why I picked the one that I picked. So take a guess as to the one that I picked and why I'll pick it. The answer is this, because while we'll be able to utilize one more card then, but that wasn't really the big point. So, and then we are going to actually delete this card because likely my opponent would get it next turn, and that card is also overpowered. And we still have the 2 gold left to convert. Now you're going to be wondering, what do you delete now? I'm actually going to be getting rid of the Sigil Mainland Inquiries. It only gives you 1 gold. I'm not really stacking it with anything, so it is not something that I currently need in my deck. And you can slowly start to see that our amount of purple cards is going to start to rise. That is going to be good. That's what we want. And because we're going to start being to combo these cards. Now, you can always do this with something else like red. Red and purple are probably the 2 most common currencies to utilize. And we now have the ability to skip cards. So I know that I have like 3 Duke of Crows cards back there. So if I activate both of these cards to switch immediately to my cooldown pile, well, now I've just increased my chances of getting all of these cards because I can have 5 at once, and now there's only 7 cards here versus there was just 9. So you can see how that's going to be very helpful for us. I'm going to play that last card, pick this up, and now I'm going to start considering, do I need more damage? How do I want to do this? I think, though, that I'm going to go for the damage. And then I'm going to convert this last gold piece that I believe that I have and end my turn. And you can see, look, we now have 2 of our Duke of Crows cards, which is going to give us an easy combo for us to be able to utilize. Combos are essential, and not overbuilding your deck is key to this. And there's nothing wrong also with deleting some of your own cards. It may sound extremely counterintuitive, but I promise you it's not. Also, you have cards like this, which I think, again, agents are really nice to play because there's really no negative. You're not going to be stuck with that card after you play it the initial time. This one's a taunt, so basically this card costs 7. You gain 1 gold. I'm going to see if there's anything that I want to delete because I wouldn't be able to delete. I actually think that I'm going to be looking at getting rid of this card here because we're going to be looking at building up our gold, per hand, basically guaranteeing that at least every card gives us 2, and then we're going to allow our AI to continue to purchase things. However, his gold, as you can see, is so bad that at most he can usually only buy 1 card a turn, if that. And we are going to utilize all of these again. You can see now we've got 12. So now it becomes interesting because I could start to utilize the Duke of Crows. And in this instance, I will. The AI will likely not turn it back towards me. But we're going to utilize it because this is one of the instances where we're going to have our highest gold per turn. So we are going to slap that bad boy down, as you can see. And now we have a 28-13 lead. Our opponent is clearly suffering for gold. He's basically attempting to get as much value as he can for what he has. The benefit, too, is none of these cards here are any good. So anytime he flips something over, it's just an opportunity that we have to be able to utilize it. Even in that card that he just deleted it. So we are going to move... Actually, we're going to leave both of those cards up there. And we are going to draw an extra card. Get ourselves some free damage. Custom seizure, not something that I think we'll really be able to utilize. And the other option that we're going to start considering too is, do we want to start sacrificing cards? Now, if we had a bigger card like a 10, then that's when I'm going to start having that conversation with myself. Right now, we're not going to do it. We are just going to look at converting. And actually, the only thing that would really be worth converting is this gold shipment, which feels a little bad because now we're not going to be able to combine it with anything. But the thought process that I'm going through my head right now is we have such a heavy lead, we can utilize this to get the rest of what we need, and we'll be able to go from there. And you can see my opponent is still struggling with gold because the problem that the AI will run into, and a lot of, honestly, other players will run into, is they feel like they have to buy things. That's not true. You don't need to buy anything. We are going to pick up this card because this is a great card, a 2 for 3. We're now going to get 3 gold every time we utilize it, and we get a free chance to see if there's anything else here. And we are going to start looking at destroying cards. Now, I am not going to do it this time, but it's something that I want you guys to keep in the back of your head as not being as evil as it sounds. Because I could convert this card right now to 5 extra power. That would take me to 37. And that would give me basically almost a free W, but we are going to leave the card for now because, fun fact, as long as it's in play, you can still sacrifice it. So I'm going to see how much power I have at the end of this turn and then kind of go from there. I will say that it is generally more beneficial to stack purple and red cards together. I'm being very cautious with this because I know that my opponent doesn't have anything good. So by forcing them to buy the cards, it gives me basically first shot at seeing what's new. This is an amazing card, absolutely phenomenal, and now I have the ability to purchase it, as now they did not, because we'll leave both of our writs in there. We'll purchase this card, check to see if there's anything I wish to delete or change. Do I want to sacrifice? Nope. So I would say our turn is good. And we are basically guaranteeing ourselves that we are going to be able in a really good spot. Because he only has a few options. He can either start to begin to flip, these patrons, or he's going to have to continue to buy these crappy cards that aren't going to benefit him, dilute his deck, and give us a higher opportunity to get what we want. Like this, for example, really good card. It's now ours. They didn't even have an opportunity to look at it. Let's see if there's anything else that I could benefit from, anything I want to consider deleting. It's also not a bad thing to consider start deleting some of these writs. It sounds really counterintuitive. It probably hurts you to think out loud like that, and it hurts me to say sometimes. But I think what we're going to do is actually knock out his card, get another patron flip towards us, and now, too, we can also start to consider do we want to get a patron victory? So if we have an agent in our cooldown pile, will I be able to utilize that? He may take out our agent here, but he's also just given us another great card. He actually could afford it, but the AI sometimes will pick interesting card choices. A lot of times they'll pick these treasure cards. He actually went for it, so he actually picked a smart card. Now we're able to utilize 2 different types of victories, and I will show you what some of our options are going to look like here. So we would be able to pay power to get back some of our points, or we could start sacrificing cards. So I'm going to purchase red because it's going to give us a really good opportunity to start drawing some extra cards, getting some extra cards, and then I'm going to end my turn. Because as you can see, the bottleneck in my current card position, and you're always going to have something when you're playing this game. There's always going to be something that you're kind of lacking. For me right now, I am overstacked in gold, and I'm a little weak on the power scheme. But it works for me because I am not hard-pressed to win, because any option that would allow him to catch up, he's not able to do. And now we're really going to start putting a lot of pressure on him because we're going to pay to acquire an agent card. Oh, hang on. Acquire 1 agent card. I don't actually know why this is not working. There we go. I was like, hello, come in. We're going to buy this card here because it goes with our deck. We're going to buy that card because it also goes with our deck. And these are actually all going to be giving us free points. We're going to remove that into our hand. So we're now going to turn this towards us. We are 1 away from an agent victory. And we can actually sacrifice this card on here right now to win. We're going to also consider, too, what our best play would be, you know. So a tribute victory is a guaranteed victory. Now, if I was to get over 40, he has now 1 turn, because obviously whoever goes first also gets the chance to, you know, have an opportunity to come back to second player. So this would give us an instant victory. So let us show you what that could look like. But you can also see, too, you see me stacking these crows cards, and you can see that it's now drawing multiple cards. I can move those to my hand, and we have 12 power. We are going to turn this tribute, and we are going to sacrifice our number 1 card to give us the most amount of power, just to win the game with a little bit of extra points. So that is the basic gist of the card game itself. The rewards are a little varied, and I would be hard-pressed to explain to you guys that I have been trying to find specifically what the guaranteed rewards are, but generally what I found is resource materials, crafting BPs, motifs, and treasures to sell seem to be the highest. I would also suggest that you guys go to Rivenspire afterwards. Now, the towns that you go to obviously will always be slightly varied, so we are going to walk on over to the Way Shrine, get to that next point. However, personally, this video is getting a little bit hefty, so I probably will not start another game, but I'm just going to talk about some other tips, tricks, and pointers. So, again, as long as you have the Sigic Order card or the actual patron, you cannot lose unless you play an agent card, because they will not be able to turn all of them against you, because they will not be able to utilize that and basically use it and kill an agent. So they can't kill what's not there. They can't turn that agent into their favor. The other piece of this too is the Raven also can only be pointed towards you and then can't be utilized again. If it's pointed towards them, they can't utilize it again. It is a great way to get a lot of power in a very quick, short amount of time. But if you're constantly flipping it back and forth between each other, it is pretty much going to be a race to see who has the most amount of gold, essentially, and who can get it the fastest. And that may not be a race that you want to enter. It may be a race that you want to enter, but that is just what I want you guys to know, kind of going into things. Also, the ranked rewards for playing against a player are always purple, so that's something to consider too if you win, and then blue if you lose. So that could be a really nice reward for you guys. There's also a leveling scheme. There's a lot to kind of unpack here with the Tales of Tribute. However, this video is getting a little bit long because you guys watched the full game, my thought process. But feel free to put your guys' tips, tricks below, because I know obviously this is a very dynamic game. There's other decks that you can unlock. There's currently 2 others that you can unlock. I've seen the one that's easy to unlock. You can get it through High Isle. I personally do not like the deck. I think that it's certainly not good against the AI. I think against other players, it could be very nice. It can also give you an easy path to a tribute victory by flipping the Patron. So that could be something that you guys could consider. But again, everyone always has a pick. So as long as somebody else picks the Sigic Order, then you're always going to have I have to mess up. If I notice you flipping all the Patrons and I play an agent card and then you flip the last one, I mean, it's on you for losing at that point. So keep all those tips, tricks in mind. There may be a part 2 to this video because there's just so much for me to cover. But I will say too, High Isle, we will be releasing videos daily for as long as I'm able to, especially over at least the weekend and into Monday. So stay tuned, subscribe, turn the notifications on, because I have so much to cover with you guys and so much just to talk about. We'll be talking about where you can find those $1 million BPs. We'll be talking about all the rewards and things that you can get. We'll be looking at the different, how to profit off of this event, how to profit for July, the new event that comes out the 30th, the Zenthar event. We'll be talking about that again. Mid-Year Mayhem is coming back, double AP, what to do with that. There's just so much to talk about. What build you should be building right now. A lot to talk about for you guys. And I'll be bringing it to you here at this channel. And I will catch you guys then. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.